The movie begins with our main character Grace and her close friend Emma. Their ultimate dream is to graduate from college and visit Paris one day. For this, they've taken up jobs at a restaurant and are trying their best to save money. The girls receive a lot of stick from their friends for working as waitresses, but they don't care. After their graduation, Grace's family plans a small celebration at their house. Everyone appears to be happy. That is, until the parents reveal that Grace's stepsister Meg will be joining them on the Paris trip. They aren't close to each other, so they're unhappy with the decision. But since the flight tickets are already booked, they have no choice but to go together. Just before leaving for Paris, Emma's boyfriend, Owen, proposes to her in an attempt to make her stay. She accepts the proposal, but refuses to stay here in Texas. One thing leads to another, and the two end up having a heated argument. At last, Owen angrily asks her to go away. The next day, the three girls arrive in Paris and begin touring with the help of a guide. Emma injures her leg while climbing stairs, and luckily, another tourist named Riley helps her. This interaction seems like the start of a connection between them, but Meg rushes off. Later, the girls are forced to share a small room for the night. Though Meg complains at first, Grace suggests they adjust and enjoy the trip. The following morning, the girls visit the Eiffel Tower to see the city from the top. Meg meets Riley again and learns his name. Meanwhile, while enjoying the scenery, Grace notices their tour bus leaving through a telescope. They try to catch up but fail, ending up stranded. After missing the bus, Grace is hurt because she had saved money for this trip for years. She then angrily walks away from there, and both Emma and Meg follow her. As the girls make their way back to their hotel, it suddenly starts raining, and they all get soaked. To dry off, they hurriedly enter a fancy hotel in Paris and head straight to the bathroom. Grace begins to freshen up, and soon Emma and Meg find her. Meanwhile, in the hotel's lobby, Cordelia, a well-known local celebrity who happens to bear an uncanny resemblance to Grace, is discussing her reservation with the hotel receptionist. Unfortunately, she can't find any available restrooms, so she decides to leave. Emma and Meg, who are right beside her, are shocked to the core as she looks exactly like Grace. But before they can ask anything, Cordelia leaves. After a while, Grace finishes up in the restroom and looks for a towel. Emma and Meg excitedly tell her about Cordelia's striking resemblance, but Grace doesn't pay much attention to their words and dismisses it. The girls then plan to leave the hotel, but the manager stops them, thinking that Grace is Cordelia. He says that he will arrange one of their best rooms for her and even offers her dinner. Grace is confused by what is happening, but because she's going to get free food, she accepts the manager's offer. She then requests that dinner be sent to her room. Later, the girls are taken aback by the luxurious amenities and comfortable beds. Despite Meg suggesting that they shouldn't use someone else's name and take advantage of it, the other girls don't listen and decide to rest. They claim that they will leave as soon as the rain stops. Unfortunately, all three of them fall asleep and are awakened the next morning by a phone call. Grace answers the call and is told that a car is waiting for her at the hotel entrance. With no options left, the girls get dressed and make their way downstairs. On their way, they encounter the hotel manager again, who hands them a package before escorting them to a private car. Meg is still hesitant about the whole situation, but the other girls manage to persuade her to come along. While in the car, Emma opens the package and discovers that they're on their way to a charity trip to Monte Carlo. They later board a private jet and read a magazine article about Cordelia. The story then shifts to Monte Carlo, where the girls are warmly welcomed by the host of the charity event and his son, Theo. However, Theo isn't fond of Cordelia, as he believes that she's a spoiled girl. Because of this, he talks coldly with Grace and asks her to prepare for a press conference related to the charity event. He also mentions that during the conference, Grace is supposed to auction one of her rare necklaces. Following this, the girls enter their assigned hotel room, which is filled with Cordelia's dresses and high-end makeup. Later that evening, Grace, Emma, and Meg dress in designer clothes and prepare to attend the press conference. Grace is also wearing an expensive necklace. At the event, she feels like all eyes are on her and asks Theo about it. In reply, he explains that the necklace she's wearing is from a very rare collection and everyone is watching it for the upcoming charity auction. Back in Texas, Owen tries to contact Emma and apologize for his mistakes. Unfortunately, he can't reach her as she has left her phone in the hotel room. When he becomes increasingly desperate, he decides to go to Paris to search for his girlfriend. Elsewhere, Theo introduces Grace to one of his friends, Dan, and leaves them to talk. He then goes over to Alicia, who is revealed to be Cordelia's aunt. Later, Alicia notices that Grace's behavior has changed, as she appears to be charming and happy, but the latter quickly changes the topic and walks away from there. The scene then changes to the beach, where the three girls are having a good time. However, when Emma playfully teases Meg, she gets upset and walks away. Surprisingly, Meg runs into Riley once again, and they strike up a conversation. The two appear to be smitten by each other already. Riley mentions that he's leaving for Italy the next day, but before that, he wants to spend some quality time with her. Meg, who is already tired of her trip, agrees and leaves with him. Following this, Grace is taken to Theo's house, where his father has organized a polo match between Cordelia and a skilled opponent. However, Grace doesn't know how to play polo and performs poorly. Her aunt Alicia, who is also in the audience, is not pleased and becomes suspicious of Grace's identity. She decides to call her nephew to confirm her doubts. As expected, Cordelia answers the call and says that she's out of town. Alicia then suspects that Cordelia hired Grace to attend events on her behalf so that she can enjoy parties. Later, when Grace is petting a horse, Alicia approaches her and questions her true identity. At that moment, Grace realizes that there's no point in hiding anything from the aunt, so she explains the entire situation. Upon hearing her story, Alicia threatens to call security, but Grace insists on not ruining the charity event. Alicia, who is also passionate about charity work, agrees to her request and suggests that she continue the act until the charity event is over. Later, Theo takes Grace to one of his favorite places. Because of her sudden change in attitude, he appears to have fallen in love with her. On the other hand, Emma is picked up by Dan for a party, and she joins him wearing a beautiful dress and the same necklace that's going to be auctioned for charity. Surprisingly, when Dan stops the car at a traffic signal, she encounters Meg, who is riding a scooter with Riley. They have a conversation and reconcile their misunderstanding with a hug. At this point, Meg asks Emma to return the necklace, as they need to keep it safe until the auction. She then places it in the outer pocket of Riley's bag, with the intention of retrieving it later. In the next scene, Grace and Theo are seen enjoying a fireworks display by the river. It's clear that they've developed feelings for each other, but they're both hesitant to confess their emotions. Meanwhile, Meg and Riley sneak into a club and have a great time dancing. On the other side, Owen notices a photo of Emma and the other girls on the front page of a magazine and discovers that they're in Monte Carlo. Without wasting any time, he immediately sets off to find them. The following morning, Meg returns to the hotel room with Riley, and they share a passionate kiss before parting ways. While inside the hotel room, she's casually eating an apple when Grace reads a newspaper article about Cordelia, mentioning that the necklace she wore the previous night is worth millions. As soon as Meg hears about the valuable necklace, she remembers leaving it in Riley's bag and rushes to the balcony to look for him. Unfortunately, he has already left, so she confesses everything to Emma and Grace. She also informs them that Riley is taking a train back to Italy in the afternoon. The two scold her for her carelessness, and just then, they spot Cordelia arriving at the hotel's entrance. In a rush, the three girls enter their room and start rearranging their things. On her way to her hotel room, Cordelia meets Theo, who greets her with a kiss on the lips and wishes her good morning. Unfortunately, he receives a hard slap in response, leaving him bewildered. Cordelia then proceeds to her suite, and the girls can't find an opportunity to escape. They hide on the edge of the balcony, and as Cordelia talks on the phone, they carefully make their way to the terrace of a nearby room. Somehow, they manage to reach the train station, but their bad luck continues as they arrive late, and the train has already departed. Anxious and upset, the girls decide to approach Cordelia to confess the truth and apologize for the loss of her necklace. Next, Cordelia notices a picture of the trio on a magazine and quickly grabs it. She reads about the valuable necklace and rushes to her luggage to check for it. Unfortunately, she doesn't find the necklace in her bag, prompting her to scream in anger. After a while, Riley arrives at the hotel's reception and inquires about Meg's room number. However, at the same time, the receptionist answers Cordelia's phone and pleads with her not to involve the police. Feeling ignored, Riley takes an elevator and starts searching for Meg's room on his own. Shortly after, Grace and her friends arrive at the hotel, and the receptionist is surprised to see her downstairs, assuming her to be Cordelia. He approaches her and offers security assistance, but she declines and walks away. Theo also approaches Grace and suggests she get ready for the auction. To his surprise, Grace kisses him and promises to meet him later. Theo is confused because he had been slapped by Cordelia earlier. Following this, the girls head to their room and find Riley in the hallway holding the missing necklace. Meg approaches him, hugs him, and thanks him for returning it. On the other hand, Owen also arrives at the hotel and asks the receptionist for Emma's room number. Just then, the police enter the hotel in response to Cordelia's report of her stolen necklace. In the next scene, Grace, Emma, and Meg decide to confess their mistake and explain everything to Cordelia. They enter her room holding the necklace and attempt to clarify the situation. However, she is not interested in listening and even refuses to attend the charity auction. This upsets the girls, and just before the police enter the room, they manage to abduct Cordelia and swap her with Grace. As the police enter, Grace emerges from the bathroom disguised as Cordelia. She then leaves with everyone else for the auction. Unfortunately, as Grace is escorted out of the building, she spots Owen and Riley in the lobby. Meg talks to them and accidentally reveals Emma's location, who is guarding Cordelia upstairs. Afterward, Owen goes directly to Emma's room and she welcomes him at the door. He apologizes for his past behavior and confesses his love for her. Overjoyed, Emma happily accepts his proposal. Meanwhile, Cordelia manages to free herself from her restraints and rushes toward the charity auction. At the auction, Grace becomes nervous, so Meg joins her on the stage. The two girls then reveal the entire situation truthfully. This leaves the audience stunned and surprised. Cordelia also arrives at the event and asks the police to arrest Grace for impersonating her and stealing her necklace. Theo is upset by this revelation and leaves the room. Unexpectedly, Alicia enters the auction and bids 6 million euros for the necklace. Cordelia tries to stop her, but Alicia is determined to help Grace. At last, the police tell Cordelia that the girls seem nice and the necklace now belongs to someone else, so there is no case to register. After the event, Meg decides to go to Italy with Riley. Emma leaves with Owen, and Grace returns home on her own. In the final scene, Meg is seen traveling the world with Riley. They're enjoying the happiest days of their lives. On the other hand, Emma has a special dinner with Owen at home, indicating that they have resolved their problems. Lastly, Grace volunteers at a school for children in Romania and is given the task of mailing a couple of letters at the post office. Surprisingly, Theo is also at the school for a charity deal and notices her leaving. He follows her and whistles to get her attention. The movie ends with the two properly introducing themselves and shaking hands with a smile.